This might be the most complex hard body model I have. It's the BRX02 6x6. Now the BRX02, if you're unfamiliar with the model, has a carbon fiber chassis, and the parts throughout are metal, beautifully machined, and they fit together wonderfully. Now the 6x6 is achieved with a frame extension and a pass-through axle, but the body is a partnership with company Team Raffee. I'll put links to all this stuff down in the description. Now you may know I've built a BRX01 in the past, you can find that on the channel here, and also I'm currently building, over many months, sorry Boom Racing, a BRX02. Now it's the 4x4, I've got the Leaf kit. I chose the Leaf one thinking to put a Hilux body on it, an old Hilux body on it, but did you know there's actually a new body coming out that's, I can't remember which version, it's either, I think it's a Mark III, whatever it is, it's the one with the sunken grille inside, which actually did have leaves, I'm pretty sure. That's an aside. This fella though is an interesting one. Now I'll show you the body, and while I talk I'll also show you some of what I did to bring this thing to life. So it's a 4-seat, well I think, five seat interior, and you might be able to see the magnets here, and they're also in the door there. I've learned some lessons incidentally, this needed painting. I didn't pay attention to the polarity though, and they don't actually hold themselves shut properly. I also made a mistake with the hinge, so I've had to double-sided tape these guys shut. The other side kind of holds shut, but I'll make sure I get that right when I build the 4x4 body for the BRX02 build we're doing. So that's the body. I don't know whether this next part is a Boom Racing thing or if it's a Team Raffee thing, but there's a quick release system underneath. You press it in and then the body lifts out. It's a really clever little system. Mine's a little bit tight because I don't think I've quite got my placements of all the bits and pieces right. Not to worry. Now let me tell you about the build. When you get a BRX model, you get everything in layers of foam and it's beautiful. Everything's really well laid out. And the body comes in a separate box. For the 6x6 combo, I guess they're doing, because they're combining two different companies' products here, the chassis and the body, they've kind of cut things up a bit and piled it all so it fits into one very compact box that fits around this body. So the box is actually only barely bigger than the actual, what I'm holding here really. And it all fits together nicely. I built the chassis first, and I did it over 4-ish hours, give or take. The build went well, everything fit together nicely. As in the past, the axles came pre-assembled. Sometimes the transmission is built, sometimes it's not. In this case it wasn't, and I was very happy to put that all together. That went fine. They supply the servo for the high and low speed in the transmission, and you get your own unique VIN and vehicle number, and it's a nice little shiny metal number plate on the back. So the build was enjoyable and it went quite smoothly. Everything was nice when it was finished and everything moves really smoothly. The body, it was like any other hard body as far as initial assembly goes. You identify the parts, cut them off the parts trees, lay them out and paint them in your chosen paint scheme. I've learnt a couple of things to do next time. For example, the inside of this door being white, I didn't do the back of this piece, and I should have, so that when you open it, it's still nice. And also, I didn't do the back of the inside piece, which shows up as white on the outside through the glass. So I will remember all of this when I do it next time. There are some oddities with this body. The magnet stuff was one, and there is a pair of magnets down inside this tailgate that don't do anything. So this thing holds together just with thoughts and prayers, I guess. Oh, it does click in, so there's friction. There are these little covers as well. There's nothing in the instructions about them. They seem like an afterthought. I've glued them on, although one of them came off when I was driving it earlier. It doesn't come with a light kit, but There are light buckets for everything. It's very nicely done. The hood has beautiful hinges on the exterior, and then there's the little arm to hold it up. There are magnets embedded in the bottom of the frame, and you put screws in here and you can undo them till you get the length right so that they kind of click shut. And there's a motor in here, and the steering servo's at the very front. It's quite attractive. Now there aren't wheel arches included, but they are an additional thing that you can buy. I've done that on my BRX01. I probably won't for this, for the 6x6, but I may do it for the 4x4. The only thing I should note is that I can see the floor pans through the inside here. I'm just going to fold this right open so you can see. Can you see that? See my fingers in there? There's actually quite a sizable gap. It's a 3-finger gap. I've got 3 fingers going through here. It's just a rectangular gap where the floor pan ends. You can kind of see the reflection of it actually. You can see my hands on the interior in there. Yeah, so there is a decent gap, and wheel arches would help kind of close that off. You don't really need them for the rear, but maybe I'll buy a set for the front or make a set or something. It seems a shame to have such a pretty model and not finish it off in that way. Minor criticisms really. The chassis was easy and quite enjoyable. I personally like the moving parts. The bodies I often find tedious, but this one really wasn't. There was plenty of work, but it went together well. And once the paint was all done, assembly was quite straightforward. Just don't glue the hinge, the plastic hinge piece inside like I did on one of the doors, because it needs to move. That's how you get this nice action where it holds itself open. I don't know how long it's going to last. I wish they'd gone with metal hinges on the outside of the doors. The points are there on the molding, but they didn't do that. That's really my main nitpick. Otherwise, it's very nice. Now, the battery bay will fit a standard 5 amp 2S. I fitted 2200 3S in here today, and it was fine. 5 amp 2S, maybe a 3 amp 3S. There are no straps included, but it fits inside this kind of plastic hole. Because the receiver's at the very back, they give you extension cables for everything to the front. Mechanically, it's the same smoothness that you'd expect from a BRX model. I really am coming to love these things. There's a short wheelbase coming in March next year I'm going to get hold of as well. My experience so far with this as a hard body has just been amazing. I love the BRX series. This is my 3rd one. I've got a BRX02 4x4 and the BRX01. You can see them both on my channel. They're just quality from start to finish. They're not particularly heavy for what they are, although they do have plenty of heft to them. It's nice that it's a carbon fiber set of rails, which are also beautifully finished. And overall, it's just a very pretty model. I don't see myself using this as much as I would a TRX6, for example, or my BRX01 or 02 4x4s. The complexity, the length and the mass does mean it's not going to be as capable. But you don't buy one of these for its straight out capability. It really is a trail truck through and through. The diffs are locked full time. There is talk of there being lockers at some point in the future, hopefully at the end of this year, maybe the start of the next year. I'll let you know about that. I'm still working out the routing of the wires because the body rests right here, so I had to get the things in. I had it a bit tidier than that. I've decided to go with a WP1080, just a 2110 550 motor. Not a high power servo, everything's just 6 volts this system. It's beautiful and light because this has the carbon fiber frame of the BRX02. It's got a very lightweight CNC aluminium extension for the rear. Got the behind the axle steering. If you're following along with my BRX02 build, you'll be familiar with the quality. This is a BRX02 build as well. I got the very first release of it and it had a few minor issues, but they've already corrected them and they're being provided to all future purchasers. If there's an issue with their kits, they'll send you the replacement bit by speedy mail, which is wonderful. They do things quite well, so I'm very happy about that. It's a 2-speed transmission and the servo is included for that guy. You can fit overdrive gears or a dig or a selectable rear or all-wheel drive selector for the transfer case. Given this is a 6x6 and that the diffs are always locked because those axles haven't been released yet, I've opted just to leave it as the standard pass-through transfer case. So all of your gears, all of your axles spin at the same speed, which is absolutely fine. We've just done our drive, and while I was holding it and talking just now, something burned my finger. What burned my finger? This servo is cooked, so it's failed for some reason. There could be a short circuit from my wiring, I'm not entirely sure. I did things up, leaving some looseness, I thought, but gee, maybe I didn't. Yeah, everything's fine except for this shifting servo. I did notice it stopped working during filming. Everything else is, it's slightly warm, but I mean, it's been running at a decent clip, so. I'll tell you what, while we're looking at it, this chassis is just gorgeous. I've got some minor issues with the body I'm still working through, but I'll tell you what, the chassis is just something else. The boom racing stuff, the crawling stuff they're making is just, I don't really have words to describe. Let's throw some words at you. Precision, smoothness. The softest springs are still a little bit firm, I'm finding. They're not articulating as much as I'd like, although they don't feel that firm. When they're running under the vehicle, I don't see the wheels kind of going like that over bumps all that much. I'm also having some trouble getting the body attached every time, but again, I think that might be the Team Raffee body and my inexperience. I can tell you I'm regretting using clear coat on this body because it's made everything kind of stick. It's had almost a week to cure at this point, but it's still, there are just sticky bits to it. Even though the body does have its issues, I'll tell you what, this chassis makes up for it. It's just a work of art. I'll get this servo worked out. It wasn't an endpoint issue, I'm not sure what it is. I think it might be wiring. I might have cable tied one of these too tightly and caused a short or something like that. Everything else has been absolutely flawless, which is consistent with my experience with the BRX family. I've been using my BRX01 a bunch since I built it. It's probably one of my very favorite RCs. The BRX02 6x6 is not without its faults or niggles, but it's not lacking in detail, and I think if you had a steady hand and some patience, you'd be able to really make something of this. If you enjoyed meeting this machine and you'd like to see more, throw me a like. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time on RC-TNT. Cheers.